The following program contains themes and images that may not be suitable for most audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok under the name Panda Pig Inc. And be sure to like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell for more videos.
Welcome back.
Hola.
Hola. Hello.
Hello.
Hey guys, it's Panda.
And it's Pig. I remembered this time.
Yes, she remembered. You're listening to The Heart and the Bones, episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
Well, technically, episode 2. You know, season 1, episode 2, Bones. You know where we're
You
going.
get the idea.
You get the idea.
So, this episode. We both have a particular hatred for this episode.
Yeah.
Which sucks because I love the show so much, and this is its second episode.
And it's just, if you think about it, you see already the change in mood compared to the first episode.
Yes. Well,
wow.
So
complete turnaround.
Here's an interesting tidbit.
Okay.
So, the next episode, The Boy in the Tree.
Yeah.
According to the Wikipedia, it was filmed before this episode.
Oh, wow.
And they decided that this episode should be the second episode.
Bold. They're so bold.
Personally, I prefer The Boy in the Tree over this episode.
Yeah.
And I really wish it would have been the second episode.
Are the creators the same ones? Like the producers, are they the same for the first and second?
It's a different writer and director. I forgot to pull up my
It is?
cheat sheet.
I thought they were the same.
No.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds. Just babble about something.
Well, babble. Something I wanted to talk about, though, in the beginning, when you see, in the explosion, before the explosion, you like how we see the razor phone? I'm like, throwback.
Nice.
Throwback, guys.
Nice. Okay, so the second episode, The Man in the SUV, is directed by Alan Croker and written by Stephen Nathan, whereas the pilot was directed by, I'm going to butcher this, Greg Yatanes, and written by Hart Hansen, the show's creator.
Okay, well, Hart Hansen does show up on the intro, I know that, but I didn't really see it, in the second one. I still saw his name, but I guess, maybe it's in the credits. I didn't look at the credits, but that's probably where everyone's names are.
Yeah,
So
you can see the subtle changes in character based on
them.
The switch in the writers.
It was a lot more serious in this episode. Mood really changed.
Oh, and you know what? The Boy in the Tree is also written by Hart Hansen, so that makes sense.
Maybe we like Hart Hansen's style better.
Maybe.
So we'll have to see. We'll see when we get there.
Okay, so this episode is about terrorism, religion, murder, family, blah, blah, blah. The episode is about Hamid Mazrouk. He gets blown up in an SUV at the beginning of the episode, and the law enforcement assume that it's an act of terrorism, so they go forward with the investigation. Turns out, not an act of terrorism. Mazrouk was murdered. In the end, it turns out that his brother was using Christianity as his beard so that he could be a raging terrorist and killed his brother because his brother was onto him.
It's his beard.
Yeah, it's his beard.
That's how I will just disguise myself. It's my beard.
Yeah.
This is my beard, guys.
You would look great with a beard.
Oh, really?
But what kind would you want?
I want Dumbledore style beard.
That's a lot of upkeep.
Yes, but I feel like that's a good type of beard.
So would it be white? Or would it be black to match your hair?
Maybe black, but maybe over time we can dye it, or we'll just let it be natural.
Natural. I agree with that, but I think you should dye the tips. I think you would look great with a Dumbledore beard, totally white.
I'll dip it in Kool-Aid dye.
Yeah, that's nice. Not too much damage. The ants will follow you, though.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
So anyways, so the top of this episode starts with the explosion. Yes. An SUV explodes in front of, was it a cafe? It was a cafe. Mm-hmm. It was in front of a cafe. Booth and Brennan and Angela show up. Why is Angela there?
I don't even know. I guess maybe her and Bones were just hanging out at that moment.
But like, she's helping at the crime scene. Like, if...
But she doesn't even help.
It'd be like Angela would just go home or go to the lab.
Or go back to the lab. So it's like, honey, what are you doing there? Like, and moral support, I guess.
And like, they're not in their gear or anything. No.
So I feel like it really was just out of nowhere. Like, maybe they were just hanging out and then just happened to have a call because it was so abrupt and maybe they were close by. That's all I could think of. But... well, there was something I wanted to talk about, though. You know how there's the bombing part? Right. One of my thoughts was, imagine being an extra in a bombing episode. Like, when it's being filmed. Did you, like, see how their faces were? And you're just like,
I know.
My face.
Oh, my God. It's terrible. But, like, so much
fun to do.
I would love to be an extra in, like, a zombie movie.
That'd be very interesting.
Like Train to Busan.
I was going to say Train to Busan.
Train to Busan. Amazing Korean film. What year did it come out? 2017?
I don't know, but I know it's not too long ago. But it was... and I think they have a second one.
They have a second one. I think it just came out this year. Train to Busan. Amazing Korean film. Amazing zombie film. Highly recommend. Yes. I hate zombie movies, but I love this movie.
And if you were to want to be a zombie in a show, that would definitely be your choice.
Yes, I would be a zombie in Train to Busan. But yeah. Also, did you notice that the Homeland Security agent is the same one from the pilot?
Oh my God. I just not thought of that.
And they're all like, hey, this is Dr. Terrence Brennan. Like, hello, sir.
Oh my gosh.
I remember kicking your ass.
Right. Oh my gosh. I knew he looked familiar. I'm like, why does he seem familiar? That's how much I pay attention, guys. Yeah. There's some stuff I pay attention to and other stuff I don't.
You can tell here, too, that, like, Angela is the link to... like normalcy or like humanity among everybody.
Like she has more down to earth type feelings. Like that's why her and Booth kind of get along more in this. It's more the psychology of how humans are that they're more, in touch with.
And she's clearly like no one else is fazed by the carnage that is this scene except for Angela.
Right.
And she totally bows out, which mad respect, to know your limits and everything like that. But she does.
At the same time, I still wondered why was she there.
Yes, that was my first thought. I was like, Angela, you don't belong here. Exactly. I agree with you. You can leave.
Yeah, like you didn't even have to be there in the first place, honey. Like, all right.
But overall, you can tell with the start of this episode that it's pretty obvious by the tone. It's very of its time.
Yes.
Like we're just a few years out from 9/11.
Yes.
And the fear of terrorism from religious extremists was like rampant.
Especially during this time.
Yeah,
too.
Even just a few years after 9/11.
So, and I mean, they're still kind of like that now. Just, back then it was a little more, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah. And you get called out for this episode.
Yes. Oh, but something cute, though. You remember how when Homeland Security was telling Bones, like, yeah, we want you here to identify because Booth says you're the best. Mm-hmm. And you see her face kind of like light up like, oh, he said that? Like, her face has that little shock.
They definitely up the will they, won't they, Bones and Booth this episode.
Yes, pulling on their little heartstrings. And then also, Zach comes in to the crime scene, and I'm just like, Zach is on it.
He's in his gear.
On it. He's in his gear. He's ready. I'm like, all right, Zach, you the MVP in this one.
Clearly. He's the MVP in this episode to me.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like, I was going to say it's more Hodgins in my opinion, but then I was like, I could see it being more in Zach. But, I mean, you know what? We'll talk about it when we get through
I'll switch, because you do raise a good point. I'll probably put Hodgins and Zach together in this one for comedy, and Hodgins gets it for he technically solved the case, but they did it together.
Yes. But we'll get to that when we get there. So now moving on to the lab.
Yeah, so they're back at the lab. They're looking at the bones, and Bones, tells Zach and Hodgins to have them cleaned. Mm-hmm. Kind of the government's being a little overbearing. Yeah. Zach removes the bugs from the bone. Yeah. What were your thoughts here?
So some of my thoughts were... the first scene you see is Hodgins is actually struggling to kind of put on his gloves, mm-hmm. and he's just so angry. Like, he's so pissed with his little pissy ass right now.
Yes, and then the comic relief happens when he's totally bad-mouthing Booth, and then it's the, oh, he's right behind me, isn't he, kind of moment. Yep. And then turns around, he's like, I've been caught. You want to hug it out, man? And then Booth just totally ignores him. Yep. And I was like, Hodgins, you hear.
Yes. Especially, like, even when, like, because, Homeland Security is there. He's just like, don't touch the table. Yeah. Like, he's already heated. He's just like, I can't stand y'all.
Yeah. Everyone gets more established in their character in this episode.
And I also really like Bones' sass in this episode. Like, I feel like you don't really get it as much as time goes on. No. But in this one, I really like it. Like, she's
a little firecracker.
Yes. Especially with Homeland Security. Oof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. She's definitely killing it in this episode. She brings it.
She brings it.
And later on, when Booth and Bones walk back to her office, mm-hmm. He makes this statement, which I feel like is basically the moral of this episode, or the theme of this episode, where he says, terrorizing people by using God to justify mass murder. Mm-hmm. It's kind of where you get the first inkling of Booth and his faith.
Yes, and they actually do establish it more later, too. Yeah. So they do a lot of that in this episode. Kind of a lot of, what is the word, foreshadowing?
Foreshadowing.
Yes, they do a lot of foreshadowing in this episode. So even if, like, I still think they did a good job in general. Mm-hmm. Even though as much as I'm not a fan of this episode, I do think it was executed fairly well, actually.
Really?
Like, on its own. But I know, like, there's all this stuff.
Yes, of course.
Of course. Like, but in general, like, okay, they made sure to try covering their grounds on how they wanted certain things. They tried to bring up certain parts in certain scenes, and they confirm it later.
I feel like...
So I think that's why I think it was done well. Just really good on the foreshadowing part.
Yeah, I feel really, like they just bit off more than they could chew.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, but...
And then after that scene where they go to the bugs, I was like, this bug vision, this bugography is like my Fear Factor fix.
Okay, I thought of Fear Factor too. I was like, yes, this is... But it's interesting because at least this is where they do the whole introduction of how this is how we deal with the bones in this type of situation. And that's what I like, is that's... Again, with the routine of Bones, you know what you're gonna get, and with this scene, they show, okay, so this is how we handle the bones.
Yeah, and they don't have a flesh person yet. So later on in the episode, when they blend the bugs, it's the first time they've done that, and they're like, oh, but they get a flesh person later. But I just thought it was interesting that they did address the lack of that component very early on, where you saw a need for someone who dealt with the flesh of the bodies.
Like, immediately. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that. I think it was cool, too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the next scene is when we're in an interrogation room.
Yes.
So what's her name? Sahar?
Mm-hmm. And Farid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's something.
I had some thoughts, and I'm like, ugh.
My first thought is, when you're questioning somebody in a law enforcement investigation and they're not a suspect, you're not going to bring them down to the station. You're just not. You're going to question them at their home. Mm-hmm. You're going to question them somewhere neutral. Mm-hmm. And I'll kind of get more into why about that later. Okay. But especially because in this first part, it's very clear that they don't see Sahar and Farid as suspects in this crime.
Yeah.
Sahar is Hamid's wife, and Farid is Hamid's brother.
Yes. And my first thought, too, when they were saying, yes, she's the wife, and Farid is Hamid's brother, I'm like, so your husband is dead, and you are not frantically crying, like, just out of control. Obviously, they explain later why, but you would think, like, initially, oh my gosh.
This is a pet peeve I have with all crime shows.
Yes.
I
like,
understand.
Had I just watched it, like, the first time, I would just be like, is that really your wife, though? Like, she's not crying. And here Farid is, like, rubbing her back, like...
Like, she's a little teary-eyed.
She's a little, but I'm just like, this is your husband. Like,
she seems more exhausted than grieving.
Yes. And then Farid, it didn't seem like he had much to say about it. And I was like...
I understand that everyone's going to respond to grief differently, and that's a big issue that happens in law enforcement investigations, is they may zero in on somebody because they're acting a certain way, when as humans we think that they should act this way.
Everyone acts differently, so I see what you mean.
To a certain extent, you know. It reminds me of the JonBenet Ramsey case. I didn't do research on this part, but I just thought of it. Have you heard of the JonBenet Ramsey murder?
I thought it was Joan.
It's John.
Oh.
Yeah, Jon. JonBenet.
Oh.
I think it's more like French sounding. But everyone in the public perceived that the mother had done it. I mean, obviously there's other evidence to say that she might have done it, but it was solely based on how she acted during public appearances. They're like, you're not properly grieving the way a mother should be grieving.
Oh, yeah.
But in these episodes, it's more than just some people.
Yeah.
Where, like, somebody's sister dies, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe... Oh, there was this one episode later on where this girl's best friend dies, and she's at a cafe with Bones Booth, and she's just like, really? That's so crazy. Like, I hadn't talked to her. Girl, if I died, take me out, because I'm going with you. Or I'm running back and I'm bringing you back.
It's like that meme, like, okay, scoot over in the coffin. I'm coming in. I'm going to bury myself with you.
My eyeballs would fall out from the crying. Like, and I get it. If every episode someone was hysterically crying because their family member died, as an entertainment value, it would be very upsetting and jarring and irritating.
Of course. But in this one, obviously, like, if it was my first time seeing this, I would just be like, if that's your wife... Really? Mm-hmm. Like, are you, like, that's how you respond? And that's why when my first reaction when I watched this, I remember I was like, she's having an affair. And and then, but I thought it was with the brother, because I'm like, oh, he's comforting her. He's there for her. Mm-hmm. Seems like he's more on her side. So I was like, oh, maybe she's having an affair with the brother, because it doesn't seem like she cares as much for her husband, for all you know. For me, made me think of the, like, JFK, Marilyn Monroe, and then with Bobby. Yeah,
I feel you.
Yeah.
My issue, though, with this scene was the fact that, like, it's not necessarily that law enforcement is posing the possibility that the car bomb was an act of terrorism.
Right.
And both clearly states that they're not making any accusations.
Right.
But they never even considered the possibility that Hamid was a victim until later on. And that's just not how investigations go. It's totally flawed logic.
Yes. But I see what direction they were going for, especially because it's like during this time, they're just going to assume.
And you know what?
And it's really messed up, but you could kind of see, like, this is how the world was really thinking.
Yeah. They're not wrong to consider the possibility of domestic terrorism.
Yes.
Because that's a valid position to think about. Of course,
especially after 9/11. So.
If you're going to also consider somebody could be
a victim this. Like, oh, maybe he didn't plan to blow himself up.
Yeah, but also, when... I keep saying but also, I'm noticing. So when you're investigating this, you're investigating the wife. They don't ask her important questions until after they find out Hamid was a victim.
Right.
Their first question should be, Mrs. Mazrouk, when was the last time you spoke with Hamid? What did you guys talk about?
Right.
Where was he the past couple of days? Did he have any enemies? Who's he been around? Things like that. And they could also consider the idea of domestic terrorism. But it's not like he got blown up by an important building. He was just in front of a cafe, Right. And they didn't even... I'm just blown away that they...
The logic that they went with this.
It's so far-fetched.
It's the movie logic. Yeah. But that's why I'm saying, like, in grand scheme, if it's only movie logic, I feel like they tied ends in general fairly well for movie logic.
I think, yeah.
But on the realistic spectrum, not as much.
I think the issue is, I see it obviously as movie logic, but it comes off as offensive.
I could see that. I definitely could see that.
Like, I'm like, yeah, they goofed. This is movie logic because they're trying to tell a particular tale.
Yes.
And they didn't consider the idea that in most investigations you're going to consider all angles.
Right.
But to the general public, it's like, man, this is messed up,
Like, how could you guys do this? Like,
yeah.
I see what you mean, though. I see your point.
Yeah.
This is a very sticky episode. It's very tricky. It's very mixed how Pig and Panda, both of us feel.
I love it and hate it. Yes, let's put it that way.
Because we love that it's bones. It's just, the concepts, man.
I know.
It's frustrating.
I know. So they go from the... what's supposed to be an interview, but looks like an interrogation.
But I feel like they did say... well, no, I don't know. They tried to label that part, and I thought it said interrogation, but it probably wasn't.
It's an interrogation room, but they're interviewing them.
Yeah.
Which is what? You don't interview people in an interrogation room. Like, you're just not going to do that.
Which, I mean, they take care of later on in other episodes.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is what they've been doing later.
So they go back to the lab.
Yes.
And Angela apologizes to Bones for not being able to stomach the crime scene. Bones kind of acknowledges that she's desensitized to the horrors of human carnage, and Hamid's revealed to have been ill, possibly from lupus.
Yeah.
And Angela invites Bones to go clubbing.
And just, if you guys notice, that belt says a lot about this time.
How many times were you wearing long shirts with belts over them?
It was, oh my gosh. It was over everything. I was like, oh honey.
It was the look.
And then the shoes didn't even match at all. I was like, yep, this is that era.
Nope. Now, this is the part where we say Pig is extra. And...
what did Pig do?
Okay. So you know how she's like, oh, come on, we'll go clubbing. They'll play trip hop and trance. Do you have an idea what trip hop is?
No.
Neither did I, but I know now.
You looked it up.
I did, okay?
You did not.
I did. So,
oh my God, you did.
I'm putting on my, again, further Wikipedia glasses.
Right.
Trip hop is a subset genre of down-tempo. It's a musical genre that originated in the early 1990s in the United Kingdom, especially Bristol. It's been described as a fusion of hip-hop and electronica until neither genre becomes recognizable. It's an incorporate of a variety of styles, including funk, dub, soul, psychedelia, R&B, and house, as well as other forms of electronic music. Trip-hop can be highly experimental. So... I watched a couple YouTube videos about trip hop, and I watched this one YouTube video by this guy. His channel is called Deep Cuts, and he gave 5 album recommendations to listen to if you're going to try and get into trip hop, okay?
Do you have them with you?
So the first is...
okay, guys. Is
the album Blue Lines from 1991 by the artists Massive Attack. Have you heard of Massive Attack?
Nope.
I've heard of them. You've probably heard some of their songs.
I probably have, to be honest.
But didn't know it. The second recommendation is... clearly, I didn't know about this genre, so if I'm butchering names, I apologize. I have respect for them. It's the album Dummy, 1994, by Portishead. The album Max and Quay, 1995, by Tricky. Mm-hmm. The album Introducing, 1996, by DJ Shadow. And the album Big Calm, 1999, by More Chiba. So your girl made a playlist and was listening to trip hop yesterday.
You were listening to
I was listening to trip hop, and in particular, I'll have you listen to these later. Okay. I like the song "Hymn of the Big Wheel" by Massive Attack.
Hymn of the Big Wheel. Alrighty.
So now you've been educated on trip hop. It's very like, it's hard to describe, but it's like down tempo the way it's described. It's got a tempo, it's got a beat, but it's a little bit slower. It's kind of funky, you know.
Okay.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe?
Yeah, it's totally a vibe. How you're gonna go clubbing to it, I have no idea. But
well, I'll have to listen and see how that goes.
But I enjoyed it, so
you guys should check it out too. Let us know what you guys think. You should check it out.
Either we just dated ourselves by not knowing what trip hop is, but I'm glad I looked it up.
Thank you.
It's very interesting.
Thank you, Wikepedia.
You're
welcome.
You very much. You're welcome. So back to the show.
Yes, back to the show.
The bones are cleaned, examined, and identified by Bones, and Zach's instructed to reconstruct the skull for educational purposes.
Forgery. Yeah. There's also that scene when Homeland Security is like wondering like what's in Bones' hand. Because it's the files that she got from Sahar. And she goes, it's just a piece of paper. That's all. With something written on it.
She's so sassy.
What did she say? Is like something along those lines. It's just a piece of paper with some writing on it. Yeah, that's what it was. And I was just like, I love the sass.
I do too. The sass and the sarcasm.
Yes, I love it.
There are some shows you develop your personality from. And this is one of those shows.
One of them. Definitely.
My sarcasm was developed by watching this show.
And I mean, that's not a bad thing.
Never.
Never. So the next scene, we end up in Booth's apartment. Because Bones went to Booth.
Yeah, to let him know that she identified the body as Hamid.
Yes. And when Booth opens the door.
The shock value.
Yes. Hello,
open
David Boreanaz.
Shirt. Beautiful man.
Yes. Very nice. Very nice.
We just thirst over David Boreanaz on this podcast.
We are straight up thirsted.
And also,
but so is Bones. When he opens the door, she does a double take.
We're thirsting together.
Yes, all three of us.
All three of us.
Literally, she did a double take. She was checking him out as he was buttoning up that shirt. So.
What confuses me about this scene is not necessarily the idea that Booth has a girlfriend and a sex life.
Right.
I think those are interesting things to bring in for the plot. It's the fact that when Tessa comes out, she's got one full boob cup hanging out of the shirt, having this casual conversation. With
not
Bones.
Even trying to cover up. She's like, oh, hey.
I mean, she doesn't necessarily have to put pants on, but, one boob's got to be colder than the other.
Isn't she the same actress in White Chicks?
Yes, she's in White Chicks. She's also in an episode of How I Met Your Mother. Do you remember
she is.
The Krav Maga chick?
I think so, yeah.
She's also a guest star in the TV show Psych, in the pilot episode of Psych.
She's in a lot of things, actually, but it's always kind of side characters or something kind of semi-important.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with the actress to know if she's done any work where she's the lead.
Yeah.
But I do recognize her from a lot of side stuff.
Yes, I definitely agree. But, yes, that was quite a scene. Even though it was short, little section, it was quite a scene.
It was brief, but it was pleasant, and it establishes the fact that Booth has a relationship.
And is a snack.
Yes. And then from there, they go back to the FBI, and that's where they find out that Hamid was murdered.
Dun, dun, dun.
That basically the killer connected the bomb to the odometer so that once he had reached a certain distance, the bomb would explode.
But it was interesting, because as they got back to to the FBI, you notice, like, Bones is literally, like, jealous. Mm-hmm. And she is just spatting out nonsense to Booth. Mm-hmm. And Booth is just like, what the hell is your problem?
She's so interested in his love life in this episode, but trying not to be.
Yes. And it's just like, oh, honey, your jealousy is showing.
It reminds me of, like, when you were younger and if you had a crush on a boy, but the boy had a girlfriend.
Yes.
And you're just like, oh, let me ask about her so that he knows I'm okay and about her or something like that, you know? Right. Where you're trying to seem cool, but you just come off as weird.
Right.
Like, don't do that.
Don't do that. But also, it also kind of sucks because even in this scene, like, not only is Bones kind of being a dick to Booth, so is the guys at the office.
Yes!
Everyone's being a dick to Booth. I'm like, we just...
He tells him the report, and Booth goes, do you have any leads on who it might have been? And he's like, that's what we pay you for, Booth. I'm like, okay, is there a deleted scene of where Booth, like, totally trashes this guy?
There is so much sass and sarcasm in this episode. Like, oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. It's just, wow.
Yeah, there's some history there between Booth and that guy.
Oh, yeah. But I don't know if they ever touch up on that.
So. No, I don't think we see Santana ever again.
I don't think so either.
No. So now they're going to go tell Sahar that her husband was murdered.
Yeah.
And get more info. And basically, she's accusing them of racial profiling, and Bones has no filter. Sahar finds it endearing. And you find out that her and Hamid argued over the phone just before he was killed. So when you see that first scene and he's arguing in a foreign language,
that's with her, isn't it?
You learn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then also Booth is also guessing at the end of that, like, oh, she's having an affair.
But, like, in this, so a couple of scenes before, we find out they're from Afghanistan.
Yes.
So people from Afghanistan aren't considered Arabs. So I don't know why he's in the Arab-American Friendship League and why they keep talking about him as an Arab.
So what it makes me think of, it's kind of the whole Mulan situation, where they're like, oh, yeah, China, but it has a lot of Japanese-inspired scenes in there. And I'm like,
I did not know that.
Well, think about it. Like how they do Mulan and, like, you know, the original Mulan.
Oh, yeah, the geisha scene.
Geisha scene, like, but she's supposed to be Chinese. Yeah. But then you're seeing there's a lot of, like, more Japanese-inspired situations in the movie, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a lot more Japanese than Chinese.
If it's a lot more Japanese than Chinese, then why in the beginning does she stick her chopsticks straight up in that rice, offending all of Japan? Tell me why.
I guess. I don't know.
I'm going to have to rewatch Mulan now.
I don't know. To me, that's what it looked like. There was a lot of Japanese inspired in there. But I mean, I could be wrong. To be honest, I'm probably wrong. But to me personally, that's what it looked like. But, you know, but check it out yourself.
Like I said before, my issues with this episode is not necessarily that they look at the fact that it might be terrorism. But they do bring up, like, racial profiling, where racial profiling is basically, like, you're suspecting or you're targeting a person on the basis of assumed characteristics or behavior based on, like, their race or their ethnic group, rather than on the individual.
Right.
Now, Bones basically drops her, quote-unquote, truth bomb that they're looking at her husband because religious extremists have declared war on America. Mm-hmm. You know, they made an assumption, and they're waiting on the evidence to prove their assumption, which is wrong. You need to look at the evidence. Like, you can have assumptions, but you're going to look at the evidence to lead you, you know? Yeah, and in my mind, this doesn't feel like Bones at all. Like, Bones is all about the evidence before making assumptions.
And that's usually what they try to go for.
But even Bones is assuming that it's terrorism.
Yes.
Without the evidence it's terrorism.
Yeah.
And it's weird. And the fact that Hamid was a Muslim, and the fact that he was blown up in a car bomb, but people use car bombs in non-acts of terrorism.
Yeah.
You know, you don't...
It's like, oh, we're going to jump the gun and say, hey, act of terrorism.
Yeah, they let the assumptions lead the investigation instead of letting the evidence. And the evidence showed, in reality, that Hamid was not a terrorist. Mm-hmm. And Bones is like, it's sad that his ethnicity is a factor. You know, and it's like, we're human. Yeah, so we're going to make assumptions and we're going to stereotype people. It's like our lizard brain defense mechanism, you know?
But I mean, it's normal. And that's why people also, there's a lot of comedians too. That's like a big bit, is making fun of stereotypes, because it's just part of human nature.
And to my knowledge, we can't eliminate our bias, but we can do our best to not lead us, let it lead us in our decision making.
Yes, of course. But, you know, that's all, you know, it's all up to the person. What they decide to do.
Yeah, so race is it's always going to be a consideration because we're human. And unfortunately, with certain crimes like religious terrorism by like Muslim people, like extremists, you know, they're usually from Middle Eastern countries.
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately. But you always let the evidence guide you.
Yes. And you don't just jump the gun.
You check your bias at the door.
You need to check your facts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure you're fact checking. Like, you don't want to be that. But
yes,
again, in this scene, Booth is also treated like a dick again. Like, people just keep being like dicks to him. And I'm just like, why? What was the problem? And then he just goes, again, what I mentioned just a little bit ago, how he goes, yeah, I think she's having an affair. But he just says it nonchalantly. You know, she's just a dick to him.
And Bones...
like, I think she's having an affair.
And Bones is like, I find that offensive. I'm like, but you don't find it offensive that you're assuming this man was a terrorist?
Exactly.
With no evidence? But you find Booth's claims offensive?
And to me, I'm like, I don't think it's offensive at all. Because even I thought it. And, you know, again, I'm just like, all right. Offensive. Yeah. Okay, quote unquote offensive.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like Bones.
Like, how is it offensive to her? Like, it's because she's a woman? Is that what that is? Like, what? How is that offensive?
Yeah,
like,
it just felt out of place.
It did. But, so they still continue arguing when we go to the Chinese restaurant. And that's when, you know, they even brought up whatever it was. They just started talking about the affair, and Booth is giving his reasoning, and I just love how Angela just kind of comes in there.
Yes.
And then Booth is like, we're having a private conversation. And Angela's like, oh, I know. And it proceeds to just...
I'm not even here.
And just proceeds to just, you know, And then, but she does agree with him. And she says things, and she's like, see, I'm a constant surprise, aren't I?
Yes. Booth and Angela are very well versed in human interaction and human behavior. Yes. They're more in tune to that side. This show is very much like street smarts versus brain, like book
kind of like the squints. But it definitely is like book smart versus street smart. What works in your benefits, especially when you're solving cases. It's very interesting.
You need both.
It shows it in a lot of these episodes too. It really shows how they utilize both sides, and it's really cool how that works. That's why I feel like Angela and Booth, at least being two people who are at least more street smart, really do hold that place pretty solid on that end.
Yes.
Which I personally really like.
I agree. I like the balance, and I like how you're getting to see more of the character's personality and comedic value.
Especially towards the end of that scene, before they move on, you see Angela goes, she's trying to get the dirt on Sexy from Booth. I'm like, all right, Angela, go get that dirt.
Yep, this is again where you're Angela.
Yes.
You're fishing for that info.
I really am, though. I really am.
Totally.
So now we're going back to the lab. Again.
Yep. So Zach finds some fragments that don't fit together, and Brennan basically suspects it's due to the degenerative disease. She thinks that either Hamid or Farid were exposed each other to a toxin because they're experiencing similar symptoms, like their faces have pockmarks and things on it.
That's why, you know, in the beginning, if you guys noticed, like you saw Hamid's face was all jacked up, and you're just like, is no one going to address that? Like, is he okay? What is going on? But then when you also see Farid for the first time, you kind of notice, like, his face is also kind of messed up too. But that's when he mentions earlier, like, oh, you know, I don't know if he mentions it earlier or does he mention it at the apartment?
At the apartment.
He does, yeah. Well, he does eventually, but that's something to notice is pay attention in the beginning. You notice, yeah, his face is kind of jacked up.
Yeah. When they go to Farid's apartment, the brother explains that he converted to Christianity and that him and his brother had problems.
Oh, wait. I did have something to say back at the lab, actually. So going back when we're at the lab, I wanted to bring up how you can really, they kind of make it more solid to me in this scene that you could really see the dynamic that Zach and Hodgins are really going to have. Like, they kind of start to bicker a little more, and I just really like that.
I love how they started it sooner.
Yes, they started a lot sooner, and it's just so cute because they start to build it up more as the episode keeps going on. You see more bickering. They keep, like, pulling at each other. It's so funny.
You get emotionally invested in their friendship.
You're just like, yes. Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, the sass? All right, Zach. Oh, Hodgins. Oh, all right, Hodgins coming in hot. Like, that's how it feels.
Absolutely.
Yes. But yeah. So, we're at the apartment.
And the brother drops the info of Sahar having an affair with this man called Ali Ladjvardi. And the brother told him to divorce his wife. And he also informs that this doctor believes that him and his brother have the same genetic disorder. They're
that's what
deformities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If
I have no words.
If Booth would have conducted a proper investigation from the beginning and asked the right questions, he would have already found out that Sahar was having an affair.
Yep.
Than having the brother inform them.
Yep. But, I mean, they kind of went there for confirmation, if you think about it. Because he did kind of figure it out, but at that point, he already pissed off Sahar.
Yeah.
So.
That's true.
Yeah, but, I don't know, the scene, I was just like, oh my gosh. Because, you know, he starts talking about, like, his whole loyalty to how he converted to Christianity. And I'm like, all right. Okay, more religion stuff is coming up in this. So, interesting. They do talk a lot about religion in this show, more than I see in a lot of other shows. Yes, and there's really nothing wrong about it. It's just the way how this episode goes about it. It's kind of like, oof, that's pretty sensitive.
I kind of enjoy the way they talk about religion in later episodes because it seems like they do more of their research about different things, and they do their best to provide all perspectives. And here,
this one, it feels to me. I feel like it could be insulting to some people who watch it. Like, oh my gosh, like, why are you saying this about my religion or my beliefs? Like, it's just there's some stuff about that.
They bit off more than they can chew, and you can tell that they didn't do a lot of research.
Exactly, but. Yeah, so now we're going back to the lab again.
Back to the lab.
And Angela is gossiping. Gossip. And the guys' remarks, though, so funny, dude. It was, oh my gosh. I could rewatch that as much, like, over and over again. Just listening to how the remarks are to Angela's gossip before she's like, I'm going to take matters into my own hands.
You see the slow roll of them into becoming, like, the gang.
Yes.
Like, the comedic group that they are.
They're the comedic relief in any type of... Well, obviously Bones and Booth have their moments and stuff, but that's when they're not bickering and having their little lovers quarrel that they show. But with them three, yes.
This is where you see it come together.
Yes, like this is their chemistry, the clicking of how the group goes, the dynamic of it. So I really like that. Like you saw a lot of it there before Angela decides, investigation time for me.
Absolutely.
Yes. And then the next scene?
I have a lot to say here.
Good, because I don't.
Okay.
I had nothing to say.
So...
and mine was more lost for words because of how heated I was.
Okay.
So I was like,
why were you heated? Wait, let's see what the scene is. So, so basically,
the agent is releases Ladjvardi? Ladjvardi. He was being interrogated.
Yeah. So he's talking, Booth is trying to get info from him because he's a mole in the Arab-American Friendship League.
But he doesn't know that yet until after the agent comes to release him. So he's more interrogating him in the beginning, and also because he kind of became his main suspect because Farid confirmed that, Sahar is having the affair with Ladjvardi.
Okay.
So
here's my Professor Pig moment, okay?
All right, let's go Pigapedia.
So as you know, I'm always looking up stuff depending on the episode, and on the IMDb fact page, like they'll note like inconsistencies in an episode, if voices don't match up or if they have the fact wrong. Well, they note that during the scene where Booth is speaking with Ladjvardi, that Booth needed to cease the conversation once Ladjvardi asked for an attorney.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
And you know what? IMDb, you're wrong. Incorrect.
Really?
Liar. Okay.
Okay, go in detail.
It's yes, but no.
Again, yes, but no.
So the need or the right to an attorney has to do with what's called your Miranda rights.
Yes.
So law enforcement will give someone a Miranda warning when there is what's called custodial interrogation. Mm-hmm. Okay? So
isn't that what they read to you when you're getting arrested?
Yeah, so it's the phrase, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have the right to talk to a lawyer
those are
for
your
advice.
Miranda rights.
Before we ask any questions, you have the right to a lawyer with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to you before any questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you have the right to stop answering at any time.
And scene.
So, my biggest pet peeve with shows is every time they arrest the bad guy, they immediately start saying the Miranda warning.
They're not supposed to do that?
No, you don't do that.
See, this
because
is how
you're not
they corrupt your thoughts,
you're
ladies
not
and
interrogating
gents.
them. So, you're only... So, like I said...
But you were saying how he can't have, he said he wanted an attorney, and you're saying that.
I'll get you there, okay. So, you need two things to happen before you want to give someone their Miranda warning. Or
Miranda warning.
Where you have to give someone their Miranda warning. Okay. There are scenarios where you can give someone their Miranda warning when it's not necessarily you have to.
All right.
Okay, so it's called custody interrogation. Custody meaning an arrest or a scenario where someone would reasonably believe they're not able to leave. Right?
Okay.
So arrest is common. You interrogate people after an arrest. You get information. But also, in this situation, I would think Booth would rather want to be questioning him. Now, he's in an interrogation room, and the door isn't locked, he's not handcuffed, but a reasonable person in that scenario probably wouldn't feel free to leave. You're sitting behind a desk that's facing the door. Right. In between you and the door is a law enforcement agent. A reasonable person would believe they're not allowed to leave.
Well, they're not facing the door. It was to his side.
Yeah. Unless the officer in the beginning specifically states, you're free to leave at any time. You're not under arrest.
Interesting.
So, the second is interrogation, meaning the individual is being asked incriminating questions, right?
Yeah.
In this scene, Booth is... It's gray, but he's making statements. He's not asking questions. Mm-hmm. He's saying, you were having an affair with Sahar. You had access to Hamid's car.
Yes.
He's making statements, but not asking questions.
Right.
Ladjvardi is responding, and he's like, did you call my lawyer? So if someone's in custody, being interrogated, and they say that they're invoking the right to an attorney and will no longer ask questions, that's fine. And an officer shouldn't ask any more questions until the attorney's present.
However, Booth wasn't asking questions. No. He was saying statements, trying to put him at the scene.
If a good defense attorney in court is going to argue that he was leading Ladjvardi to make incriminating statements, but technically, no. Technically, he wasn't asking questions. But at no point does a law enforcement officer call your attorney for you. No. Booth would not be making that call. Ladjvardi would be making that call.
So Ladjvardi was telling him, hey, call my...
Yeah. And Booth is like responding like, oh, yeah. I would never, challenge a right to an attorney. But Booth is never going to make that call. If he was given his Miranda rights and whatever... Ladjvardi would need to call his attorney. A law enforcement officer is never going to call someone's attorney for them. Oh. Like, he's not arrested.
So I see what you mean by yes but no.
Yes but
no. Technically, Booth wasn't even asking questions. So, and then second of all, Booth is not even the one that's supposed to be calling his attorney in the first place. It should be Ladjvardi's responsibility to do that.
Yeah, so here's my summary. If you're invoking your right to an attorney... Mm-hmm. Don't talk. Suffice to say, we don't know if Booth read the Miranda rights or not.
Right.
He would have also needed, like I said before, if he wasn't going to read the rights because of the scenario, he would have needed to say he wasn't arrested. But if Booth didn't plan on arresting him right then, he shouldn't have done the interview at the station at all. Because Ladjvardi could be considered in custody. He should have questioned him somewhere else.
Like in public or at home.
Yeah.
Could he have gone to his home?
Yeah. I mean, anybody can go to somebody's home and knock on the door and say, hey, we want to talk to you. I think they more along had it in the interrogation room because, they don't even know he's the mole yet.
It's probably just movie purposes again.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, geez.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So that's my heated. So, yes, but no. At the same time. But no, you're never gonna see, because an interesting thing too is why you don't usually see officers read the Miranda warning right when they're arresting somebody is you arrest somebody and you're in the car right with the dude, right? He's in custody, so if you ask him questions, you would have to read him his Miranda rights, and they would know that they have the right to an attorney.
Yeah.
So if let's say you're a cop and you're driving in the car, and the dude just starts talking and talking and talking. Yeah. But you're not asking him any questions. He's just spilling his guts about whatever. The information he provides you can be used in court.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Because the officer's not interrogating you. He's not asking any questions.
But that's what they mean by the whole whatever you say can be used against you in the court of law.
So a lot of officers are not going to give you your Miranda until you get down to the station where they have to give you Miranda because they're going to interrogate you.
Yeah.
But right away, if an officer gives someone Miranda, they may not get all that information that they wanted that someone might give when they're on their way down.
So it's kind of that's a little tip. If you get in some trouble, don't
keep your mouth shut. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, keep your mouth shut and ask for an attorney.
Yep.
This comes from somebody who knows law enforcement.
Yes.
Even if you didn't do anything wrong, don't say anything.
Don't do Pig knows a lot about that. So.
Yeah.
But speaking of cars, though, the car scene, though. So when they're kind of arguing, too, I was like, they're arguing already like a married couple.
Yes.
And I just love that. And you see more of that religion again. And they really that's where it's solid.
They're peppering it in.
They do. They really make it solid that Booth has this belief in God, and then Bones is kind of like, she just totally dismisses it. But you see both sides of how they feel about their own beliefs in religion. So I think it's interesting and good that they made that a point in the show.
Yeah, it's an integral part of their relationship is the diverse spiritual systems that they have or lack thereof.
Because then it also leaves it to the viewers as well as like, okay, let's see how that plays a role, because that is a big thing that can be a problem with couples in general that do end up together, or even just friends. Sometimes it causes problems in general if your beliefs are very much different. So you get to definitely see how sometimes,
I like how they showed the obvious tension of that.
Yes.
And obviously Bones is a complete different belief system.
Right.
But I still love her curiosity and mostly respect for Booth's faith.
Yes.
Like, she was like, okay.
Like, all right, that's your belief, but I don't.
But I don't. She never once says, Booth, you shouldn't believe this. You're an idiot. She'll say things like, this doesn't make sense. I don't believe that.
I don't understand that. I don't believe that. I don't see why you believe that. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but she never is sometimes she's condescending.
She can be condescending. But she tries to still respect Booth and what he believes. It's just she lets him be aware that she's not always on the same page on him with that.
Right.
So.
Absolutely.
But at least they bring that a point, because then it kind of leaves it to you like, oh, I wonder how that's going to play out later. You know. But it's good, because they definitely do it later. That's what I mean. A lot of foreshadowing here.
And just more obsession with Tessa.
Yeah, more
like, it's so weird.
And that's really why they were arguing in the first place in the car. They were arguing a lot about that, too.
Like, she's so fascinated in his relationship.
And then when they tried to change the subject, too, they're like, oh, okay, you want to talk about dead people? That's what you like talking about. And Bones goes, okay, let's talk about all the people you sniped.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, burn. Yes. Okay, more sass.
Yes.
All right, dang. And this is on their way back to the lab, too. Yeah. Again, we're going back to the lab again, guys.
Back to the lab.
As always.
Angela, well, before that, Angela does Tessa recon.
Yes, she does.
She finds Tessa at a copy shop.
Yep. She finds
and
Tessa.
Gets the lowdown.
She does. She gets that tea.
But also, like, that printout that she has, did she run a background check on her or something?
What I was wondering. I'm like, can you do that? Is that legal? Like, huh?
Not that I'm aware of. Unless you're hiring somebody for a job.
Right. But I'm like...
Yikes.
Yikes. Big yikes. But even when she goes back to the lab, though, she starts spilling the tea. And when she gossips, and what she says and how she gossips, I was like, that's me.
That is you.
That is me. That is me.
And it's kind of where you see the gang, again, becoming the gang, you know?
Yes, becoming the gang of Bones, you know?
Like when Zach is like, and we've heard it's been a while for you, Bones. For Dr. Brennan.
Yes, when they talk about her sexual life. Yeah.
The chemistry between the cast in this scene is... and when they're discussing Bones and Booth potentially getting together, it's what makes me want to watch this show in spite of this god-awful episode.
Yes. So, I mean, like, at least even though, like... the crime itself, it's like, it's a headache, and the concept of the crime is a headache. We get a lot of great character development here where you could really see people in their solid position. So it's really nice to see that. And something about Booth I really like, too, in that scene is when he walks in, he's like, I feel like I need subtitles when I walk into here. And I was like, honestly, I feel that. And imagine if, like, in real life, we could just turn it on and off subtitles just in general in all our brains, like a Black Mirror episode.
Absolutely.
Like, that would be amazing.
I need subtitles just from talking to my sister, because sometimes we mumble to each other and we cannot understand it.
I need subtitles for myself because I don't understand my brain sometimes.
Well, and you're like basically deaf.
Yes, Panda is incredibly deaf. Like, your girl has a lot of earwax. Let's just say that. I am very deaf. If anyone's ever heard the game Incoherent, that little card game where you try to sound things out and then it creates a phrase, well, whatever thing that you're trying to sound out, that's probably what I heard from human beings. So that's how my brain works. It's wonderful.
We also get from this section wthen we highlighted before the fact of needing someone for flesh.
Yes.
When they take the bugs out.
and then Zach goes, you can't kill them. They have names.
He's so cute.
He's so sweet.
So sweet. But also, like, the bug spillage on, like, they're just, like, the spillage out of the jar. I was like, and they're just like, oh, like as if they spilled peanut butter. Like, yeah, we'll get it later.
Like, Bones is like, well, first the thing is, Bones shoves her hand in, and she's like, well, we gotta kill some of them, Zach. But then, like, some of them just spill out. Everyone's like, alrighty then. And like, then you have you got Hodgins like, in Thailand, they saute this in peanut oil. And then you just have Booth kind of standing there like, what?
Why are you like this?
Why are you all like this? And then you try to see, he tries to, like, put his hand on Zach to kind of comfort him, because you just see, like, the shock and disbelief in his face, like, my friends, they have names, my babies.
Yeah. and Hodgins IDs the poison as dioxin.
Yes, he does.
So my interesting part about this is, at first, for the true crime section, I was going to try and look for a crime associated with dioxin because of the physical effects that it had on the characters.
Is that accurate, though?
Well, kind of. So, I didn't end up choosing this for my true crime section because it's a lot of politics involved.
Don't forget, guys, we do have that true crime section at the end, so keep listening.
And I didn't feel like I was well-versed or had the time to research it the way I wanted it to.
Right.
But basically, this Ukrainian politician, Viktor Androyevich Yushchenko.
Okay.
He was the third president of Ukraine from January 23rd, 2005 to February 25th, 2010.
Okay.
So he believes that he was poisoned with the dioxin by senior Ukrainian officials at a dinner in 2004.
Oh my god.
So if you look at that slideshow that I had you open
that you pulled up on me.
It's literally just a picture, because I want to show her. If you click on the slide that says, Tessa and the poison, you'll see that's a picture of Yushchenko.
Oh, wow.
So the first picture...
Pig made Panda a slideshow for me, so I get visuals.
And so the first picture is him before. The middle picture is what he looked from the poisoning.
Oh, my God.
And the third picture is after treatment and all that.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
The poison... I'm sorry, he's starting to look like a goblin.
I know.
You look like you're coming from Spiderwick.
Yeah, so they definitely underplayed it a little bit on the show, but it's kind of horrifying.
That is horrifying. Just imagine that.
Yeah, so he was president with that face.
How old was he during this time? Wow.
Girl, I don't know. Older.
Well, yeah, eventually he got older. Jeez Louise, that sucks. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty then.
It's pretty accurate on that.
Wow.
How much dioxin will mess you up.
Was it a lot of dioxin?
It was a lot.
Oh my god.
I don't know the science to explain it.
Bro, did you not taste it?
I don't know if it has a taste or anything.
Oh, well,
that was my little blip.
Oh my gosh.
I can always research it more for later or something.
No worries, but that was... Wow.
But I wanted to show you that because that's something I looked at where I'm like, how did this really affect your face? And then, yep, it does. You're going to look like a little goblin.
But yeah, so then after the poison is ID'd... Angela
reconstructs with the Angelatron.
Yes, the Angelatron again.
I love it.
We see the hologram process again, which I love that process.
Me too.
And that's where they see the face of Hamid and they realize, oh, he was exposed.
Yep.
And it's wow, okay, see? This is what do we mean? So then the next scene...
They go to question Ladjvardi again, even though they've been told to back off.
Yes. But, Bones and Booth are like, nah, we're just going to do it anyway.
Yeah. And again, with Bones assaulting people.
Kick his ass!
And not getting charged.
Yep. Booth even goes, I told you she didn't like being touched.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Booth in blue is very nice, too.
He looks amazing in blue.
Yes. You like how he even, undoes his thing. He's like, all right, time to kick some ass, even though it's going to be Bones who does it. All right.
He's, prepped. They're always looking for a loophole in this show.
Yes.
When it comes to doing, trying to get information.
Yes. But, yeah, I like when they kicked his ass.
Yeah, me too. I remember when I saw that for the first time, I was like, I need to go to self-defense classes.
I feel like it'd be fun.
It would be so much fun.
You even see, though, when he does kick his ass. You just see Booth go, ooh, like, ouch, that must have hurt.
Yes.
Like, damn.
On the freaking sidewalk, man.
On my sidewalk.
Mm-hmm. I bet you he stepped on a crack.
Oof.
Broke his mother's back.
Or broke his own back at that point.
Broke all the backs in his family.
Dang.
All the backs were broken.
Yeah, so now we're moving on to the next section.
Yeah.
Where Hodgins and Zach determine the bomb in the building is connected.
Bones and Booth are, again, discussing relationships and stuff. Yeah. But basically, Zach figures out that the bomb was made in Woodley Park. And Woodley Park is where Farid lives. They go to Farid's home, and they find the elements of the bomb. Mm-hmm. And they determine that Hamid must have found Farid making dioxide.
Yep.
And found out that Farid was a closeted Islamic extremist.
Yep.
And they end up seeing that Farid is probably making another bomb.
Yes.
So then Angela finds the location of where he might be going based on the bus schedules.
Yes.
And Bones they determine it's the cultural center.
Right.
And they go there. Bones looks at his bones and sees that, yep, that's Farid with his bomb.
Oh, wait. Go back. I did have some comments at the apartment. Now that I think about it. So the apartment, they broke in, right? As Pig talked about. They broke in. And I was like, because Booth said, just say that it was broken already like that. I'm like, can he really break in like that? Like, is he able to just do that? Like, what the heck?
He would have to be able to articulate in a report that there were remember we talked about last week, the exigent circumstances.
So that applies here too? For
the imminent destruction of evidence.
Okay, so it does apply here too.
Technically, if he could articulate it, that he, had the belief.
Yeah.
Based on the information he's been provided thus far.
Right.
He would have to be able to articulate that.
It's that again.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a gray area. Yeah. But for him to tell Bones to say that we found it like that.
Yeah.
That's messing it up.
Yeah.
Because that's him saying he would not be able to articulate him breaking in the home.
I was just laughing too because it's like, while they're in that apartment, it's one of those times you're like, dang, too bad you guys don't have FaceTime right now. Like, they're just like, she's trying to describe everything to Hodgins, like, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. And even before that, even in the car, I had something to say about that too.
Tell me what you had to say.
In the car, I remember Bones was really proud of not having a boyfriend, but she kept bringing up Tessa again. All right, honey.
As a female person,
yes,
I find this so strange. Obviously, women are different,
right?
But Bones does not seem, at least from my understanding of her character, like the type of person to. Like, there's at least 5 or 6 times she is the one who brings up Tessa. Not once does Booth bring up Tessa.
I feel like she does this when she's jealous, though. Because she kind of does it, like, in general, when she's jealous.
They put the angst in this episode, and I'm like, it's episode 2.
It's only episode 2.
Like, we just met these people.
But now, like, we're already invested in them with their nonsense.
This is true.
But yes, so we're back at the apartment, and I'm just like, too bad there's no FaceTime.
Also, when they're in the car, and they're trying to discuss like Sahar and divorce and stuff.
Yes.
Since when where's Booth getting this info that Christians and Muslims can't get divorced? Like, this is the research part that I'm talking about. Like, to my knowledge, like, Catholicism is the only one that I know of that doesn't really go for divorce. Christians can get divorced. Even Muslims can get divorced. I think it's that, like, the men can decide if they want a divorce, but the woman needs the consent of the husband to get a divorce. I don't know.
I don't know.
But you see, I'm saying that. I'm saying I don't know.
She's putting it in the air.
Here, they did not know.
Yes.
They did not know.
They did not.
And I was like, where are you pulling this from?
What? So, yeah. I mean, that car scene was interesting.
Back at the apartment.
But back at the apartment, yes. I was like, too bad there's no FaceTime. But even then, like, still, this is what I mean. Like, Hodgins was really, like, the MVP here, where he was, like, on it, thinking on the spot, like trying to give like Brennan like a good estimate of like what that much damage could do with this much, blah blah blah. And I was just like,
he was on it, but he was going to be mad about it.
Yes, he was going to be mad about it. And you could even see, again, the whole religion thing. And you see, like, Bones, like, he was not a Christian, blah, 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 blah. And
I'm like, yep, how do you know this?
There it goes again.
Also, like, there's this weird thing in this episode where it's like a Muslim person will say something,
yes,
and then Bones like translates it to Booth, like in layman's terms.
I don't know.
I'm like, why are you being their mouthpiece? Like, they speak English,
right?
Like, it's uncomfy.
Yeah,
but it's 2005, okay?
It's 2005.
They do better.
they could have done better.
But this show is great. Mm-hmm. And I love it.
Yes,
but that doesn't mean we can't critique it.
Nope.
Absolutely.
We could always critique it. Just like you guys are probably critiquing us, and we totally respect that.
Yeah, if you can't critique something that you love, it's a lot harder to argue for it.
Right. I mean, like, Panda and Pig, we know we're not perfect, so it's okay.
But I still love you.
I still love you. Okay. I'm always gonna love you.
I'm always gonna love you. Oh, can we... I'm just gonna say, I love you, bitch. I am gonna stop loving you, bitch. We were of the Vine times.
We were of the Vine times.
If you don't know what that is, look up the video.
It was before TikTok, ladies and gents. Before TikTok.
Oh, the days.
But,
anyways.
Also, Angela, too, was also the MVP around this, when she was able to be like, peace conference, gotcha.
Oh,
That's where people would be.
With the bus schedules.
Yes, with the bus schedules. She even beat out the FBI when they were trying to figure it out. So I'm like, this is what our team is. I'm telling you. The competition where they try to make the FBI team just seem incompetent again, like in the first episode. Even like in the scene when they were back at the lab, when Zach and Hodgins were just trying to recreate a bomb just cause. Yeah. Just to spite them. To be like, oh, who could do it faster? Us or them? Like, they're doing it again.
Seriously.
Like, I love it too. It's so fun.
And you notice at the Cultural Center, like, the audio dub was so off.
Yeah.
It was so off with their mouth movements. I was like, I feel like I'm watching a foreign film dubbed.
That wasn't really my focus, though. My focus was actually, so you know how Bones identifies Farid based on his walk. And she was like, because Booth is like, I need a face. And Bones is like, no, this is what I do, Booth. This is what I do. Like, trust me. And I'm thinking, hold on. Back up a few seconds. Do you not just remember you just tried to identify Farid, and even Booth said Farid, and the guy turned around? It was not him. Like, I feel like that was one of the first times they really, like, that's a fluke. Because usually they make it known that Bones knows everything about humans and blah, blah, blah. And you see this guy's face. He's obviously not Farid. And she goes, even from the back of his head, she was like, oh, that's Farid.
Right, no, they were much closer.
That's the racial profiling again.
They were much closer. And also, like, it's total BS. She's saying, oh, I can tell by his parietal bones. It's the same in the skin. Like, he's got hair. He's like freaking 100 feet away.
Right.
And you thought this dude 20 feet away from you was Farid.
Exactly.
Like, I'm with Booth. Show me the face.
Exactly. I was so on Booth's side. I was like, Booth was definitely in the right, and I'm glad he stood his ground, even though Bones was just like, no, this is what I do.
Try articulating that to the news, that you shot the wrong person because your lady friend said his skull looked like your guy.
Yes, pelvis thrust, jaw.
Yeah. But they're right, and Booth takes him out sniper style.
He does take him out sniper style. And I found it interesting on how, like, the way they revealed, yes, this is the bomb. Like, I was like, I don't think you're certified to do that, because for all you know, lifting that flap up could have went kaboom. Mm-hmm. But I know that's not obviously movie magic. But I feel like that's not realistic. I don't feel like he would be the one handling that. I feel like out of all people, Homeland Security. handling the bomb. Really.
Yeah.
The potential bomb. Usually they call the bomb squad for that, and the bomb squad is the one who takes care of that to see. I mean, if Monsters, Inc. does it with a sock and they take precautions, I think they should have done the same thing.
I could see Booth shooting the guy as being realistic.
Yes, of course.
But the handling of the bomb, definitely by professionals.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Monsters, Inc. did it.
Absolutely. After they take out the other Mazruk brother, Bones and Booth go back to the Chinese place, which I really liked this place.
I also like, though, how they make it known by showing them there again that this is what they intend to be their hangout place. Like, this is their hangout spot.
They're developing their watering hole.
Yes, they're developing it. Like, this is the place, guys. You're going to see them here more often. This is where they're going to go to talk and stuff. Obviously, it changes over time, but I really liked it when they were here. And they even knew the guy there, too. Yeah. Like, it was nice.
I think it's, to be honest with you, I think it's more interesting than a diner.
Personally, yeah, I agree. But I guess, you get sick of the Chinese food. And if anything, I would have been fine if they kept going to different places. That would have been fine with me, too.
I just like the idea of them getting together. Like, the bar in the show. I like the bar. I wish they would have kept the Chinese place, even if they made the Royal Diner their hub.
Yes. I feel like they could have rotated them. But, we don't have the budget of that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have Bones' budget. I wouldn't know.
Well, then we get a beautiful montage of Booth hanging with Tessa and Bones identifying World War I victims.
And you even see, like, the one of them they show is only 18 years old.
No.
And it just sucks because even now, you still see people enlisting and they're only 18 years old. And it's just so sad because I'm like, that... career field, but that is your life on the line. Like, you could die at 18.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
My other thoughts for this scene, okay? Mm-hmm. So Booth goes home to Tessa, and Bones goes home to the lab. Yes. Showing where, like, their priorities are.
Yes.
Booth values relationships.
Family, family life. That's his priority.
And Bones values her job.
Yes.
But there is this angst in this montage, as if Bones and Booth have been dating for years, and Tessa is keeping them apart.
Right.
But we're only in episode 2, and we just learned of Tessa's existence.
And I don't know if that's already just because, like, we've watched this how many times, so we're just seeing any woman with Booth, or even any man with Bones, we're like, you are all a nuisance.
I think they're doing this, they're doing this on purpose. The angst in this montage makes me feel like as much emotion as I do when I watch, like, Walk the Line. They're being kept apart. Yes. But I wish they would have pointed out the possibility of Bones and Booth getting together.
Yeah.
Like, later on, because it takes them so long to get together. I'm so mad because I'm like, they're pointing this out right off the bat.
Right.
But you make me wait the way you make me wait.
Well, okay. Speaking of waiting, guys, I don't think we mentioned it before. So something about us starting this podcast is Pig just finished watching Bones.
Okay.
She could not finish it for the life of her. Like, she did not want it to end.
No.
And I finished it the moment I realized I had access to everything after Netflix took it off. Curse you, Netflix. Why would you do that?
Evil.
But Hulu put all of the seasons on, including the ones that they added on before Netflix took it off. So I was like, wow, I can watch.
So you caught up?
I caught up, and then I got to finish it. And then when I told Pig, I was like, hey, when are you going to watch it? Like, I want to talk about it to you. Talk about with you. And she just could not get through it. That's kind of what inspired this podcast. And one is so we could watch everything all over again together.
Yes.
And we could talk about it. And number 2, it was motivation for her to get through Bones.
Yes. So I stopped watching it consistently after season 10.
Yes.
Like I said, I have a strong attachment to this show, so all I would do was keep rewatching the episodes because I didn't want it to end.
Yep.
And I was also worried that, now, I don't watch Grey's Anatomy, but I was worried it was going to go down the Grey's Anatomy hole.
Yes. I like Grey's Anatomy much more than Pig does. I am still watching it. Right now, we are in the whole, like, even coronavirus is involved in the concept. So I am still up to date. Pig, on the other hand, stopped Grey's Anatomy a long time ago, and that's what she was afraid that Bones did, because Bones is so long, and she was just afraid of that.
I was like, are they going to kill everybody off and replace them and just keep going? You know?
And I had to reassure him, like, no, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So then I was like, okay, so then I decided I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to do another rewatch. I'm going to start it straight from the beginning and go all the way to the end, and I had all of these fresh thoughts. And basically, we were having these kinds of conversations over the phone as I would watch an episode. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just record ourselves talking.
Maybe someone wants to listen to us and maybe they have the same thoughts as us, because we can't possibly be the only ones rewatching Bones again and again and again. Yes. There has to be other people. I mean, Bones lasted how many seasons? There's obviously a fandom.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So
anyways, my conclusion of my feelings for this episode is this episode had potential.
Yes.
With most Bones episodes murders, they like try to expose and like educate the viewer to some different subgroups.
Right.
And it's really difficult to do that like in an efficient way in a 45-minute show and be entertaining without being too preachy.
Which, I mean, I feel like they, you know, made up for on that part with the character development and really making everyone know that this is their character. This is who they're going to be.
Yeah, it had the potential to take this really difficult topic and utilize it in a thought-provoking way.
Right.
But instead it comes off as a little offensive in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
But overall, it's a good building up the characters episode.
Yeah, that's why I say, I'm like, I feel like it's decent. I feel like it's probably just, there's a lot of foreshadowing that I feel like they make up for. And I guess that's what's big for me personally when it comes to a lot of shows is when you foreshadow something and you follow through with what you do.
Follow through.
Yes. So that's why with this episode, as much as there's many flaws, I definitely felt like they, you know, they followed up on a lot of the foreshadowing. As messed up or the concepts may be flawed, I liked the foreshadowing being, you know, this is what it is.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
The following program contains themes and images that may not be suitable for most audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, guys. So now it's time for our true segment section. And this is all up to Wikipedia until I decide to come up with a different name for her.
Yes.
So what you got for me?
So
what is the inspiration for this?
I hate religious terrorism.
Right.
It's frustrating. Mm-hmm. I don't find it interesting. I just get mad.
I mean, I don't blame you.
So
Very valid.
So this section of Pig's True Crime Corner has to do with what the writers talked about was kind of the niche of the episode, which was misdirection.
So you're going for the concept. Of the whole episode on the grand scheme of things of it being misdirection.
So it's misdirection with a sprinkling of religion.
Interesting.
Like you'll get a tad of your religious fix.
I mean, you know I love the shock value.
Yes.
You know, give me the shock factor. Whatever the phrase is. I don't know the phrases. Just give it to me.
All right.
I'll take it. What you got for me?
All right. So, Stephen Christensen.
Stephen Christensen. That's like such a simple name.
He's a financial consultant who worked at Consolidated Financial Services.
So he did a simple job with a simple name. All right.
It's a real estate investment company. So he had recently resigned from his position as vice president.
Okay.
There were rumors that the company was committing fraud. So that's some backstory. On October 15th, 1985 in Utah, a brown paper package with Steve's name on it is placed at the front door of his office. Inside that package...
This is real life?
Yes. Inside that package was a pipe bomb. It exploded.
Pipe bomb? A bomb in a pipe?
A pipe bomb. It's a type of bomb that can be put in a pipe. I'll have a picture of one later.
Like what kind of pipe? Like the kind for plumbing or like the pipe like you smoking?
No, like a big like metal pipe.
Interesting. Okay.
I have a picture of one later that I'll show you. So, it explodes and kills him.
Oh my god. Only him?
Only him. It injures, I think, another one of his coworkers.
Was this outside or?
Inside a building.
Inside a building, and only he got killed and other people got injured? That was it?
Yep. A witness in the elevator saw the man that delivered the package go up in the elevator. He was wearing a leather jacket. Okay. 2 hours later, Cathy Sheets picks up a package at her front door that had her husband's name on it, Gary Sheets. Inside the brown paper package was a pipe bomb that exploded and killed her.
Oh my gosh. So it happened again.
So Gary Sheets was the former business partner of Steve Christensen.
Oh, so they're connected.
The neighbor saw a tan Toyota minivan turn in the Sheets' driveway at midnight before the bombing, but he didn't get a good look at the delivery man.
Okay.
All right. The following day, Mark Hofmann, a rare documents dealer, opens up his car door to see a brown paper package. When he opens the door, the package falls to the floor and explodes. He's not killed, but he's injured. The tips of 2 of his fingers are blown off. A piece of his kneecap is missing.
What's his relation again?
It is in his knee. He's a rare documents dealer.
Okay. Rare documents dealer.
So I'm going to get into a bit of the evidence. So if you look on the slideshow, I've got pictures of what each of them look like.
That helps. Sorry, guys, you don't get to see this.
So you can see what they all look like.
Steve Christensen, Cathy Sheets, and Mark Hofmann.
On the next page of that, you see what a pipe bomb looks like, okay?
That's a pipe bomb?
That's what a pipe bomb looks like.
Interesting.
So a mercury switch is found at the bomb sites. And what that is this glass ball that's filled with mercury. Mercury is a liquid metal.
Yes.
And when it tilts to one side, so it's like motion sensitive, when it tilts to one side, the metal completes the circuit and makes the bomb go off.
So then fidgeting with the package, boom.
Boom. So like Gary Sheets opens the door, picks it up, boom. Cathy Sheets picks up the package, takes it inside, boom. Mark Hofmann opens the door, boom. Motion sensitive.
Wow.
So
that's insane.
The gunpowder is sent for analysis, and it was found to be this brand called Hercules Bullseye brand. They found that the certain components of the bomb were a brand that's exclusive to Radio Shack. I think it's called Tandy. Kind of like how Walmart has Equate and Walgreens has their kind of own no-name brand.
Yes.
It's a Radio Shack brand. So they know...
It's just a general...
Okay. So know whoever made this bomb bought the stuff at Radio Shack.
When Radio Shack was a thing.
Yep. So they find that that there's someone who purchased all of the necessary components to make this bomb.
Okay.
And the man's name is Mike Hansen, and he bought the stuff at a Radio Shack in Holiday, Utah.
I've heard that name, Mark Hansen.
Well, you're probably thinking of Chris Hansen.
Probably.
The To Catch a Predator genius. So they get an address for Mike Hansen, but it's a vacant lot. Okay. So when a pipe bomb explodes, the ends of each side, because the pipe bomb is, horizontal, the ends of each side of the caps pop off, and it explodes in a straight line. So in Mark Hofmann's car, there's a hole on the passenger side of the door, and it showed a direct line to the injury in Mark's knee, which means that it would have been impossible for the bomb to have exploded in the way that Mark Hofmann said that it exploded. His knee would have had to be in the driver's seat, and the injuries in his hands basically show that he was holding the bomb when it went off over the center console.
What?
Okay. So Hofmann's home is searched.
Because now he's the suspect.
They find a leather jacket that matched the description.
Oh.
They found that he had the same car. And inside the van, they find a single flake of gunpowder.
What?
From the same brand. But he takes a polygraph test and passes.
What?
He passes the polygraph test.
Are you sure he didn't take it himself? He didn't ask himself.
No, this time it was law enforcement administered.
Okay.
But law enforcement's baffled. But they still find it suspicious because they've got this evidence that conflicts with his testimony.
Oh my god.
Testimony, goodness. So there's a few things we need to know about Mark Hofmann, okay?
Okay.
So he's a collector of many historical documents.
Yes.
Okay, lots of things to do with U.S. history. But mostly Mormon and LDS, Latter-day Saints, related.
Right.
So most people know that the LDS Mormon religion is a...
LDS is Latter-day Saints.
Latter-day Saints. It's basically a denomination of Christianity. It's very new. And he was so well renowned in the circles of, like, collecting rare documents as being reliable and an exceptional rare arts dealer, okay?
Okay. So
the LDS finds documenting their history really important because they're so new. Finding historical papers and documents is super important to their religion.
Right.
So Hofmann would make tens and thousands of dollars procuring these documents that cemented LDS belief systems, okay?
Okay.
However, he also found documents that discredited some LDS practices and beliefs.
Wow.
So people with an interest in maintaining, like, the status quo of the religion would pay Hofmann for the documents, put them in a vault, lock away the key.
What?
You know?
Just for status.
Well, not status, but because if, like, for example, if you have this... I think about an episode of The Simpsons.
Okay.
Where Bart Simpson... I can't remember what happens, and to be honest with you, I can't remember everybody's name. But Bart Simpson somehow becomes the smartest person in the world, and he discovers that God doesn't exist, and he starts putting out flyers. And his neighbor comes around, who's a Christian, is like, oh, we can't have this. So he just destroys the papers. Even if Bart Simpson truly found out that God didn't exist, he's like, well, I can't let anybody else find out about this. So it's kind of a similar thing where even if the LDS people believed that these documents, like, they still were solidified in their faith, they would see these documents as creating issue with current Mormon doctrine.
Right. Like, they just didn't want that conflict or anything like that. Just don't stir things up, no drama.
So documents that were found by Hofmann, like, they were analyzed by experts in their field. Even the Library of Congress found his stuff to be legit. So Christensen, the first victim, was a collector of documents from Hofmann and was scheduled to meet with Mormons on these things called the McClellan documents to certify the authenticity of them. Okay. So despite the fact that Hofmann's making all of this money from document sales, he's deeply in debt, and it's partly because he's got this lavish lifestyle. He likes first edition books, you know, so he's trying to clear his debt. So he's trying to broker the sale of this McClellan collection.
Okay.
It's supposedly this exclusive group of documents written by William E. McClellan. He's a Mormon apostle who eventually broke away from the LDS Church. So Hofmann hinted that the McClellan collection would provide revelations unfavorable to the LDS Church. But Hofmann had no idea where the McClellan collection was.
Oh.
So, after the bombings, documents procured by Hofmann are analyzed, right?
Right.
The scientists put ultraviolet light on the paper, and it turns blue. And under a microscope, they can see that the ink is only running in one direction. But other documents of that time...
What does it mean when it's blue?
It's just something that they've noticed.
Okay.
So, like, if you shine an ultraviolet light on one document and another, and one's blue and the other's not, that's just something to notice.
Okay.
So, and they look at the ink, and the ink is only running in one direction. Okay. But when they're looking at documents from that time, they're not glowing blue, and the ink is absorbed in all directions.
Oh.
So there's something weird between Hofmann's documents and the other documents. When they searched Hofmann's house, they found a recipe for an 1800s recipe for ink.
Okay.
So the scientists duplicate the ink, and they find that it's the same ink used in this document called The Oath of a Freeman, which is this historical document to U.S. history. And that document was authenticated by the Library of Congress. So Library of Congress is like, this stuff is legit. But the scientist finds that one of the letter M's looks like it was messed up from a photogenic process. So basically, Hofmann's forging all of the documents that he's procured. Good. He is fabulous.
Wow.
So the motive for him to commit these crimes was to buy more time so that he could forge these McClellan documents.
What?
But he got to and over his head, you know?
Yeah, and he ended up
But this guy was such a troll. Such a troll.
Mm-hmm.
That the best example is this thing called the Salamander Letter. So he showed up in like 1984. Basically, this is just an example of him trying to mess with the Mormon church.
Okay. Where
this Salamander Letter is written by this guy named Harris to W. Phelps. The letter is presented as a version of the recovery of these gold plates in Mormon history. And basically, in the Mormon history, they're saying that Joseph Smith talked to this angel.
Okay.
But instead, Mark Hofmann says that he was talking, that a white salamander appeared to him.
What?
So he's messing with this church so bad that he took out an angel and was like, nah, Joseph Smith did not talk to an angel. He talked to a lizard.
A lizard? Oh my god.
Is bad. So
that'd be someone like placing Adam and Eve like, no, so really they were actually dinosaurs.
Yeah. Basically.
That were fish.
Basically.
Fish
like,
dinosaurs.
He just trolled. But the thing is, what people say is like, he was not extroverted and boastful. Like, he just seemed like some nerdy guy who dealt with documents.
Quiet guy.
You know, quiet guy. But on the inside, he was this raging troll.
You know what I'm kind of imagining? I don't know if you've watched Office Space. Have you ever watched that movie?
Yes.
You know the guy with the stapler?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought of. The guy who just mumbles like... I
could see it.
But he keeps to himself and he's quiet.
I could see it.
That's what I think of.
So anyways, at the end of the
glasses, I don't know.
You know what? I think it is the glasses.
I think it's the glasses.
Yep.
Maybe that's it.
Yep. So at the
end,
if
you guys look up a picture of Mark Hofmann, you'll see a picture that I'm looking at. He has glasses.
That's
and I'm like thinking of
H-O-F M-A-N.
H-O-F man with two N's.
Two N's.
So, yep. If you guys want to look them up, Steve Christensen, Cathy Sheets, and Mark Hofmann.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly feel bad for Cathy Sheets' husband because he probably has survivor's guilt.
Oh, yeah. He just died recently, too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a sad.
He was older.
But yeah, I feel like survivor's guilt, like that.
Yes.
It must suck to know, like, that was for you and your wife got killed.
Well, and the thing that sucks, too, is he only sent it to Gary Sheets as a misdirection. He didn't even want to kill Gary Sheets.
So
I mean, he didn't need to kill Gary Sheets.
Mark Hofmann's just messed up.
Yeah, he's messed up, and...
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's in prison. Well, hold up. Wikipedia.
He made... Oh, Pigopedia.
Pigopedia
in the process. I was trying to think of other names for your true crime segment, like Prue Crime, True Pig Crime, and then I was like, if I go Prue, it almost sounds like prune, and I don't want you to be a prune. That'd be Prune Crime. No. Yeah. True.
Oh, so Mark Hofmann's only 66. Oh. So he's still alive. Remember, this was the 80s.
Yeah. This was not that long.
Yeah,
still.
So he got convicted and everything. He's not going nowhere. But what cemented it was they found a receipt from a printing company in Utah that was connected to Mike Hansen. Remember the dude from the Radio Shack stuff? Yes. But included Mark Hofmann's phone number. So, got him.
I feel like it could have been that simple. Just look at the receipt.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the whole idea of like the Sheets bomb being the misdirection was what made me think
that's what they called it, is Sheets bomb?
No, the bomb that went to the Sheets family.
Oh.
That's what I meant.
So you feel like that was the misdirection.
That was the misdirection that made me think of.
because it had nothing to do with them.
Yes.
That's interesting. I thought the misdirection was going to be, oh yeah, Mark Hofmann is a victim here.
Well, he didn't mean to blow himself up. He came up with the classic blunder that most bomb enthusiasts have, is they blow themselves up.
Yep.
It's so common.
When you think you're smart, but you're not that smart enough. You're not a Hodgins. Mm-mm. Even Zach blew himself up, but we are good to that.
Most of the time, they just blow themselves up in their own homes.
Yes.
But anyways, if you're interested in the Hofmann case, I watched a Forensic Files episode. Mm-hmm. If you're watching on Netflix, it's Collection 5, Episode 5. I also listened to a podcast by the Parcast Network. It's called Con Artists. They have 2-part episodes on Mark Hofmann. One episode is totally dedicated to the first part of his life, second episode on the crimes and stuff. There's also My Favorite Murder episode about it. It's episode 76. Mm-hmm. So if you guys are interested in looking more into those, you can check out that stuff.
Check them out. And you could also come back to us. Just let us know if you find something more interesting facts and maybe we didn't talk about them and you want to let us know.
Yeah, because there's a lot more to the Mark Hofmann document forging thing that I didn't get into. Mm-hmm. So if that's your thing, go check it out.
Go check it out. Let us know. But yeah. I think we can wrap up this episode. That was a very interesting
On to the next one. I'm ready for the next one.
We'll see you guys. Well, not see you. Whatever. What term should we say?
Let's hang out again.
Let's hang out again next week.
Like I said, if we haven't turned you off yet, don't turn us off.
Turn us on.
Let's stay turned on together.
We'll see your whatever we'll end up in your speakers.
Do we turn you on?
Do we turn you on?
Because we'll be here next week.
We'll be here next week. All Tune in next week.
All right.
For Pig and Panda. Pig and Panda for the heart and the bones.
Signing off.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Next week on The Heart and the Bones.
Mentions a thing. He says, enjoyment is the opposite of suicides.